That's one way to start it.
Well, you know, I thought we needed some flair.
Do.
Yeah, a few. I've heard they don't make them like me anymore. There was this other guy, though. Army infiltration. He wore a bandana or something.
heard he finally retired.
Really?
Yep.
It's only me.
Mushroom? No. What is this? No.
Colonel, I'm trying to sneak around, but I'm dummy thick, and the clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards. Metal Gear.
Greetings everybody, and welcome to a brand new thing that I've wanted to do called Reviewtrespectives, where I do a review / retrospective on a series of games or just an individual game. Came up with this a little while ago after just kind of sitting on my ass drinking a bottle of Iron Brew. Look at me, I fucking love this shit. I've recently been going through the Metal Gear series again after hearing a couple of new things and secrets about Metal Gear Solid 3, about how like guards can patch themselves up if they're injured, and a new way to sneak into Granin's lab by just wearing a scientist uniform and getting caught. And I ended up doing a no alert run.
I like this game.
If it wasn't obvious at this point, I like the Metal Gear series. And the entire time I was playing these games, I thought, why not try my hand at a review / retrospective. The way I'm going to be covering these games is I'm going to be spoiling the story rotten first, and then I'm going to focus on gameplay and give gameplay more of a focus. So that way they're a lot more segmented, so that way you can decide if you want to hear about the story, if you don't care about story that much. But if you do care about story and you've never played these games before, I can just focus on the story and then you can skip right ahead past that to the gameplay to see if this game's for you. And forewarning, I know there's a bunch of Metal Gear games like Metal Gear Ghost Babel, Metal Gear Acid 1 and 2. They're more like side things, so I'm going to treat them exactly like that. Side games. And with those games, don't expect a full video dedicated to them, because I might reference them and talk about them a little bit, but don't expect me to talk about them in depth like I'm going to do with each individual game. And no, I'm not focusing on the NES version of Metal Gear 1, and definitely not Snake's Revenge, because And lastly, I'm not going to be looking at Portable Ops. Now the reason for that is, it's basically ignored in the whole franchise. Like, even at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4, when there's those random screenshots from each individual game representing the story of the saga so far, it doesn't even show a screenshot from Portable Ops, it just shows Peace Walker. So, even the series doesn't fucking talk about it. Another thing about Portable Ops is that it doesn't make sense in the whole canon of the story, and like some things story-wise just don't make sense.
I'm looking at you, Sokolov!
However, I will be referencing some things it introduces into the series that later become more refined in terms of gameplay, like from Peace Walker and Metal Gear Solid 5. The order I'm going to do the review / retrospective on these games are as follows. Metal Gear 1 on the MSX, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake on the MSX, Metal Gear Solid 1, Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty, or the Substance version, a quick look at Twin Snakes, Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance, Metal Gear Peace Walker on the HD collection, and Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain and Ground Zeroes in one, so that way it's the full package, because this is the definitive edition, so I'm not going to look at either one separately, because that's dumb. Alrighty, let's get going, because there's a lot to go through.
Hideo Kojima, the now legendary games designer and master of mindfucks, also the man behind the Metal Gear series, started off wanting to be an artist, illustrator, and most of all, filmmaker. But that quickly changed for something more stable. He began studying economics and wrote short stories in his spare time, which he sent off to magazines in the hopes of getting them published. They were not. The reason? The short stories he submitted were 400 pages long, and the magazines only wanted 100 pages. Seems like his long story started early.
Oh. When he was a kid, him and the family watched movies, and he wasn't allowed to go to bed until the film had finished. That actually explains a lot.
In 1986, after previous failed attempts to get into the video game industry, he joined Konami as a game designer and planner, and was actually disappointed as he decided to work at Nintendo, as he felt the MSX's colour palette was too restrictive.
Could you imagine if Kojima did work at Nintendo? You know what, never mind, it's 10 out of 10, we'd never deserve it.
Kojima actually considered leaving Konami early on, but stayed around to work on a game. And what was that game? Penguin Adventure.
Not really the most Kojima game, but he was assistant director on it, as well as its sequel, Antarctic Adventure, so it makes sense.
The first game he developed himself was a platforming game called Lost World. World? What the fuck? It's a play on words, war and world, you get it? However, the game was never released due to technical limitations of the MSX, and Konami just flat out rejecting it.
Things weren't looking great for Kojima until he was asked to take over a game from a senior associate. That game? Metal Gear.
Metal Gear was intended to be a high-octane action game with gunplay, fast shooting and dodging, that kind of thing. Like Contra.
Which was also done by Konami, which is really weird to think about.
But once again, due to hardware limitations, Kojima decided to steer Metal Gear in a slightly different direction. Inspired by the film The Great Escape, the idea of helping prisoners escape in secret was planted. Obviously there's a little bit more to it than that, but we'll get there.
So the Metal Gear series is well known for being massively in-depth with its story, but thankfully the original Metal Gear on the MSX is a little bit simpler. But I'm going to go into a lot of detail. Also, I forgot to mention that the versions of Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake on the MSX that I'm going to be looking at are the versions on the Metal Gear Solid 3 Substance version on Metal Gear Solid Legacy Collection. Yeah.
200 kilometers north of Galsburg, South Africa, lies the base of Outer Heaven, a massive fortress of soldiers seemingly running off the well-being of wars and fighting constantly, giving the soldiers of the fortified base a place of being and something to do. Although by the looks of things, that idea quickly turned Outer Heaven into being its own state and force to be reckoned with. And the ultimate point of that being the rumours circulating that Outer Heaven has been developing a weapon of mass destruction deep inside the Outer Heaven fortress. To see if the rumours that the US government found out are true, they call upon the high-tech Special Forces unit Foxhound, led by the legendary soldier Big Boss, to do the job. Big Boss sends his most trusted and best man, Grey Fox, to infiltrate the base and to find out all he can about this new weapon and neutralize it and any other threat Outer Heaven poses to the Western world, under the mission name Operation Intrude N312. Although things don't exactly go to plan, as a few days later, Grey Fox sends a single transmission, Metal Gear, before going MIA.
Well shit, that can't be good. If the best man for the job couldn't do it, who could?
A rookie operative under the code name Solid Snake.
Which, I'll be honest, kind of irks me a little bit. If, again, the best man for the job, the only one who achieved the rank of Fox, which is the highest that the Foxhound unit had, what do they think sending in a rookie would do?
Snake's mission is Operation Intrude N313, a follow-up to Grey Fox's mission. Snake heads in with his mission objectives being find and rescue Grey Fox, find out exactly what a Metal Gear is, and how to deal with any threats it and Outer Heaven could pose to the world.
I'd like everybody to remember that this is his first assignment. Certainly gives Leon Kennedy a run for his money on batshit insane first days.
And so the game begins. As Snake, you have to sneak your way around Outer Heaven, avoiding enemy soldiers on patrols, or just kind of standing around, as well as security cameras and infrared lasers. Snake is to go looking around for Grey Fox, but you won't actually run into him that easily. You will, however, run into the many other hostages in this massive base, who are pretty important for progression, which I'll get into later. During his hostage-saving escapade, Snake receives help from Resistance members and its leader, known as Kyle Schneider. The other hostages give Snake advice which helps direct you to the right location of where Grey Fox is being held, although some of it does become guesswork for you. Resistance members like Diane don't really do much, as the first time you call her she's out shopping. Yeah, but she can help steer you in the right direction later on, which is pretty useful for first time players. Although the radio calls aren't actually mega useful in this game at all, and are pretty situational too. Not to mention that when you're in the radio menu, the noise the thing makes is annoying as hell. It's like there's an ambulance always nearby, but Snake doesn't need no ambulance, as eating some rations will cure any and all wounds. Thank fuck these items respawn every time you enter and leave a room. Yeah, probably due to limitations, rations, ammo boxes, or even remote-controlled missiles will always respawn every time you leave the room they're in, then go back in. So make sure you stock up before you go anywhere. On-site procurement at its finest. After letting himself get captured,
or in my case just wander about before having the scene play out on its own.
and getting thrown in prison himself, Snake breaks through a weakened wall with the help of Big Boss radioing in to let him know he could do that.
I'm sure it's nothing.
And on the other side of the weakened wall is the man we were sent to rescue, Grey Fox. Upon saving him, Fox tells Snake the truth behind Metal Gear, which reveals it to be a nuclear-equipped bipedal tank, and the biggest threat of Metal Gear is how it can launch a nuke from any kind of terrain. But with luck on his side, Metal Gear isn't actually completed yet, but is currently in a hangar waiting to be finished. Grey Fox informs Snake that the only way to deal with Metal Gear before its completion is to find and rescue Dr. Drago Petrovich Madnar, the developer of Metal Gear, as he is being held against his will in Outer Heaven. Shortly after breaking out of the prison, Snake faces off against one out of the 4 mercenaries sent to deal with him.
And who are these mercenaries exactly?
They are Shotmaker, Machine Gun Kid, Fire Trooper, and Dirty Duck?
What the hell kind of names are they? What's next? Holy Diver? Fridge Raider? Matheson Sausage? But yeah, these are the guys you're dealing with. And that's kind of it, really. They're one note, not difficult at all, because you can brute force the damage and kill them easy, as you have rations, they don't. Suppose it's just the curse of being on a simpler console of the time.
After dealing with Shotmaker and Machine Gun Kelly, Snake makes his way forward and he ends up getting himself into a battle with a Hind D, but with his handy dandy grenade launcher, he manages to destroy the Hind and move further into the base. Snake then has to deal with a tank using landmines and an armoured bulldozer using that handy dandy grenade launcher. Soon after, Snake ends up running into a decoy Dr. Madnar, and upon talking to him we find out this fact. After this, Snake is attacked by one of those mercenaries I mentioned earlier, Fire Trooper. And Snake makes short work of him. Yep, that's it. Nothing special, like I said.
Okay, so you guys remember how I said hostages were pretty important for story progression? Well, the way to actually find Dr. Madnar is to get the intel of where he is from a Resistance member named Jennifer. She helps us get said intel with story important items. However, she won't actually respond to you if your rank is too low. And you only find this out after saving a particular Resistance member who gives you her radio signal in the first place. Let's talk about that ranking system a little bit, shall we?
After you save 5 hostages, your rank goes up, indicated by the stars near your health bar. And each time you get a new rank, you get an extension to your health, item maximum, and ammo capacity. Kind of a similar situation of how, after beating a boss in Metal Gear Solid 1, you get the same upgrades. You need to reach a rank of 4 to call Jennifer.
And you might think, okay, all I've got to do is reach rank 4 and I'm good, right?
No! God help you if you accidentally kill one of those hostages. If you kill just one, your rank goes down. Which, if you somehow really suck and kill every hostage before Jennifer, you'll be stuck in a dead fucking game. Anyway, Jennifer helps you out by supplying you with a rocket launcher, which Snake uses to destroy the seemingly indestructible Bloody Brad robot Terminator things. And I'm guessing that's what everyone else thought, because the NES name for these guys are called Arnold. Yeah, that couldn't be more obvious.
What's with all these Terminator references? Bloody Brad being called Arnold in the NES version, the artwork of Snake is fucking Kyle Reese from the Terminator? What else could happen?
Soon after, Snake finds Dr. Madnar, who won't actually help and refuses to unless his daughter Ellen is saved, as you guessed it, she's a prisoner of Outer Heaven too.
Alright, I know this is most likely due to the console and how it lacked in certain areas, which is why Kojima went with the stealth gameplay in the first place, to avoid it being a sprite flickering, lag-filled mess infecting the game. But I save one person who tells me to save another person who tells me to save another person who tells me to save another person. And the hostages are few and far between, so you don't know if it's the right person you're going after. I get Kojima was inspired by The Great Escape and saving people was a part of the game, but to do it kind of like this for story progression feels kind of lazy.
Now, I'm not sure if the development of the game was being rushed by Konami or anything, which made things harder for the development team, which could be an explanation for it, but I just don't know.
This has Dr. Madnar refusing to help us unless we save his daughter, which is a dick move, like, dude, I fucking saved you. And learning the details to destroy a fucking nuclear walking tank should be a little bit more important, you know?
What I wish they would have done is have Dr. Madnar say how to destroy Metal Gear, and as soon as you head off he asks,
I know you've got a lot on your plate, but could you save my daughter, who's being held prisoner?
Metal Gear Solid has that kind of thing, where it has Colonel Campbell asking Snake if he can save his niece if he could. But, you know, he asks Snake to deal with Metal Gear first. You know, the priority. I suppose you could see that as Kojima learning from his mistakes, but even then, it happens in this game.
At one point, with the help of Jennifer, you get a compass and some antidote to get through the desert area to get to Metal Gear's hangar. Using the compass, you know where to go, and the antidote for the poison you may deal with if you get stung by the scorpions. And in return for the help, Snake saves Jennifer's brother from the mercenary Dirty Duck.
Yep, that's a name alright.
So it makes sense in the story perspective. Fuck you, Dr. Sanders, and give me my fried chicken.
Getting back to the topic at hand.
After saving Ellen, Dr. Madnar informs us that Metal Gear is located on the 100th floor basement of Building 3, 20 kilometers north, and to destroy the Metal Gear unit TX-55, Snake would need to attach plastic explosives to the feet in a specific order.
Around this time, Big Boss starts giving us some more advice for sneaking further into Outer Heaven, but that advice seems to be a bit more misleading as it leads us into ambushes, death traps, and just trucks that send you back 7 miles away.
I wonder why. This is the time where you'll get the help from Jennifer, then save her brother, like I mentioned earlier. But one thing I didn't mention earlier is that if her brother dies, she threatens not to help out anymore, so be prepared for a very careful boss fight. Although, Jennifer doesn't really help out much after anyway. And now for the final stages of the game. Upon getting to the 100th floor, Snake receives a call from Kyle Schneider, remember him? In the call, Schneider is about to divulge the truth behind the leader of Outer Heaven before being captured.
Good job, Schneider! Damn the man, Schneider!
Then, the battle with Metal Gear. This walking battle tank capable of launching nukes, the ultimate weapon. Just kinda stands there while you bomb its feet while avoiding gun cameras.
Yep, nothing too special, and it's actually the only time a destruction plan of a Metal Gear actually works in this series.
It's also a lot better than the ending in the NES version, which you can get to by entering the password FUCKME11111.
Yes, I'm completely serious, try it out for yourself.
But instead of destroying a Metal Gear, or even seeing it, you destroy a big-ass supercomputer, which is kinda lame. After destroying Metal Gear, the self-destruction sequence for Outer Heaven is triggered, to which we then find out that Big Boss is the leader of Outer Heaven. What a shocking revelation. Schneider was obviously about to tell us this, and Hostage before we sabotage Metal Gear actually does tell us this.
Unless this is meant to be Schneider, which would actually make sense.
Big Boss actually sent in Snake to receive misinformation to throw off the West and ensure Outer Heaven would remain a dominant force. But didn't anticipate Snake getting as far as he did, so he set off the self-destruction sequence and to meet Snake in battle, saying he would not die alone. But like most things, he's easily defeated when taking rockets to the face, which makes sure Big Boss dies alone. After killing off Big Boss, who will never be seen again, wink, Snake runs like hell to escape Outer Heaven's destruction, then radioing back into HQ to let them know that Operation Intrude N313 was a success, ending Metal Gear 1.
And that's the story of Metal Gear 1. Not super involved or in-depth unless you really look into it, but it also has a simple message with a decent twist, making it a good standalone game in its own right. Which is probably the only time that will ever happen in this series.
But how does this game play, and how are the mechanics? Well, the name of the game is Stealth, and there's a number of things you can do to avoid being spotted. For one, the soldiers all have a horrible illness known as tunnel vision. You can be stood exactly in front of them and be basically invisible. It takes a bit to figure out exactly where their vision is to take advantage of it, although there ends up being a better variant of soldier later on, who move faster, have better vision and a more solid patrolling strategy, so be as careful as possible. Although I wish that when approaching guards from behind, they had some kind of tell as to when they're going to turn around. Thankfully though, the AI is still rock dumb. This doesn't really apply to the guys who have fucking jetpacks, but just run around and shoot and you'll get through it. There'll be a few times where you have to get around surveillance cameras, and the best thing to use is a cardboard box. A damn simple tool, but goddamn is it an effective one. It'll save your ass more than you think. Those pesky infrared lasers are pretty easy to get around as long as you're smoking cigarettes or wearing infrared goggles. And while you're making your way around, either stealthily or running with your tail between your legs, there's a pretty damn good soundtrack, with only one thing being a detriment, that the only real theme being played is the theme of Tara. While a good theme, it gets pretty repetitive, which is why I didn't really mind getting caught sometimes, so there will be a new song playing.
So we've established how you can sneak and stealth your way around enemies, but what happens if you can't stealth as good as you think, or you're forced into an alert situation? You gotta defend yourself somehow, right?
Starting off, you'll only have your wits, a packet of cigarettes, and your fists. But pretty quickly you'll find yourself some rations to heal yourself, binoculars, card keys, a handgun,
Which has bullets that doesn't reach the end of the screen.
a gas mask, and some remote controlled missiles, naturally. You'll get rations and ammo in random boxes laying around like I mentioned earlier, or enemies can drop them. Only when you kill them via punching. Now, I don't really get how shooting guards stops them from dropping items. Do I shoot the item too? Whatever. Sometimes certain enemies will also have more probability of dropping stuff than other guards, like right here. You do get a lot more weapons and items like C4, a submachine gun, mines, and a rocket launcher. All these weapons and items are plenty useful though, although there's a few items that are pretty situational like the bomb suit and the enemy uniform. One thing you've probably noticed about the item menu is how much of a mess it is. I really can't stand how I can't customize this to the way I like it, like Resident Evil 4, or have the items be in a nice order by type of item. Kinda like how the NES version does it. And having the restriction to only hold one item at a time can lead to some real bullshit. It's almost legendary at this point to mention that Snake can't seem to hold a keycard and wear a gas mask at the same time. It's a matter of scrolling through the keycards you have to open the door whilst taking damage from poisonous gas when you don't have the gas mask on. And speaking of keycards, you can get a total of 8 keycards. Cards 7 and 8 are very late game, so aren't as confusing to deal with. However, cards 1 to 6 can cause you to stand in front of a door and cycle through each card, which is so dull and grinds the game down to a halt. There's no card stacking, which is pretty annoying. The only way I've found to at very least minimize this is every time you get a new keycard, go to a door that didn't open before. And from that phrase alone you can guess that yes, there is some backtracking in this game. It's not awful early on, only when you get to the second building of Outer Heaven does the backtracking get a bit more tiresome. So we've covered how to sneak around, how to progress, and how to defend yourself, but how does that all control exactly? Before we look at that, let's cover the look and style of the game, shall we? Alright? Nice. From the get-go, you can see Metal Gear as a top-down Zelda-style game. Simplistic graphics, but not 8-bit, so you can tell exactly what things are meant to be, and Snake's character portrait in the radio is pretty good. A lot better than this fucking monstrosity. Just like a Zelda game, Metal Gear has some puzzles in it. Quite simplistic puzzles, but I did have quite a lot of fun figuring them all out for myself. Although, like a Zelda 1 of all things, there were a few things that I had to look up. Thankfully it wasn't a lot of things, but I still did need to look it up. Things I had to look up was the exact sequence on how to destroy the Metal Gear with a C4, where exactly behind the wall the oxygen tank was that Jennifer's talking about, and when exactly to call Jennifer to open the fucking door to get the compass. Continuing with the Zelda comparisons, in Zelda 1, when you move around to different areas, the screen scrolls and slowly transitions, allowing you to see what's going to come up next, so you can plan your next move. Unfortunately, in Metal Gear, that doesn't exactly happen. You need to look ahead with your binoculars, but that brings the game to a grinding halt, so I end up getting lucky if there's no guards looking at me when I go to the next screen. And speaking of getting lucky, wink, there's a few moments in which I did get lucky in gameplay, like having enough C4 to destroy Metal Gear, killing Big Boss and that goddamn bulldozer. Thankfully, due to the snappy quick responses of the controls, the game flows nicely and feels easy to get around, and carries you until that sweet, sweet end screen, where we then get a radio transmission saying that Big Boss is still alive, and will someday settle the score with our hero, Solid Snake. And that brings us to the end of Metal Gear, a pretty simple stealth action puzzle adventure game that has a decent story with good uses of foreshadowing and dialogue when it's not the NES version. A bit dated at this point, but it's a decent game that I ended up having a good amount of fun with. And this game also acts as the foundation of a game series with a massive legacy. And boy, what a legacy, because we're only getting started with this series, and the next time I'm going to be taking a look at Metal Gear's sequel on the MSX, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. I want to thank everybody for watching, and have a good one. No! Hey there everybody, going kind of off script here for the credits. I just wanted to say thank you to anybody that watches. This is my first review of basically anything, well, first video review. Sorry for it being so long. I was aiming for around 20 minutes max, but the intro was a bit longer because of how I was explaining everything, how I was going to do things, introducing you to who I am, my style and who I am, and just kind of introducing you into the world of where, you know, I do things. So thank you for being patient. I can see just from watching back the review that there are some improvements that I can make, but like everything's already been filmed and I'm quite proud of what I've done so far for a first review. I'm quite happy with it. I just want to list off a couple of inspirations. Some Call Me Johnny, Kadikarus, Trav Guy, a smattering of others, but I just wanted to say thanks for the inspiration, and that the intro of the next video won't be as long, but as you can tell from the intro of this video, the music video for the main theme, yes, that's going to be a theme for the entire series. Maybe not for Metal Gear Solid 5, but we'll find out. I'm going to be doing a cover of each game, so yeah, I just wanted to say thank you again, and hope you enjoy the next video, and again, thanks for being patient with me. I hope you enjoy the next review.